The franchise recap is on season 34, my favorite of Era 4, War of the Worlds 2. Airing August to December 2019, this season saw 32 cast members head to CT's favorite location, aka Thailand, for 16 episodes of reenacting the Revolutionary War in pursuit of that $1 million prize. Evolutions include a blast from the past, team-based season, first since, yes, kind of Battle of the Seasons, but that's really pairs, really the first team-based season since Cutthroat. It's been a minute. Second one, 90-minute episodes. Well, 90-minute airtime, 60-minute episodes without the commercials, but longer than it had ever been before. And third and finally, the ability to turncoat, aka switch teams after you win an elimination. Let's talk story. As always, cast, romance, competition. We'll break it down into the three categories here. This is a really good cast. They were just crushing it on the casting department all the way basically till this point. It maybe falls off after this. We'll talk about that later, but had been crushing it and do crush it again this season, especially given who makes it further in. As usual, it aids the show to have some of the biggest names, the biggest stories of the season make it further. CT, Jordan, Rogan, Paulie, Zach, Leroy, Josh, saying those two in a row is tough. Theo and Turbo were the last 10 guys left, and D, Kara, Ninja, Ashley, Cam, Tori, Nani, Kaylee, Jenny, Georgia were the last 10 women left, and Kyle, Laurel, Bananas, and Wes were early exits, but still there. That is a sick group. That is an incredible cast. And this season, unfortunately, we do have to mention, is another one of those that has a decent amount of people DQ or quit. Zahida withdrew for a family emergency in the second episode. Faith gets into an altercation that I don't remember if we actually see on camera or not, and ends up withdrawing from the game as well. And then Turbo gets DQ'd after going at it with Jordan. There is a lot of romance with this cast, at least plenty that we see. Plenty more could have happened as always, but Rogan and D are on again, off again. There is something going on there throughout this season. Of course, Kara and Paulie are here, and we will talk about them as a duo within the game here in just a moment, but they are very much in a relationship at this point, going on, I think, the second full season of them coming into the house together as a couple. Cam and Leroy were back on this season in the beginning of what is now a beautiful family in relationship in and outside of the game. Of course, we have Tori and Jordan. We will talk about that a bunch here in the next few minutes. And then I think, if I'm remembering this correctly, Bear and Laurel maybe hook up on this season. I might have that wrong. I also might be missing some of the other hookups. But we had 4 real couples, more or less, going on inside the house. Now to the competition, which is the story of the season. Obviously, it's always the story, but it really just works so beautifully this season. The format itself is a bit of a mouthful to say, but it works pretty straightforward. I'll say it right now. It's going to sound all confusing and crazy if you haven't watched this season in a while, but it actually does work pretty straightforward, and most notably, they stick to the format all season long. So the winning team picks a speaker. That person gets to pick 2 other people, and they form the 3-person tribunal. They listen to the losing team's debate and nominations, where the losing team picks 1 person for elimination. That person gets to then speak to the tribunal to plead for maybe who they want to go against. And the tribunal then gets to pick 1 person from either team, including their own winning team, to go in versus the nominated person. And again, it stays that way for the entire season. So yes, it took an episode or 2 to be like, okay, exactly what are the mechanics here? But once we had them, we're like, this works great. And thank you for staying with it all the way through to the end. It's very similar to Vendettas, though, in that it does allow the one alliance to kind of grab and keep control within the US team when they get to literally select who's the speaker and basically just pick who's the tribunal from the winning team, which, by the way, the winning team is the same one almost every time. Just coming back to that in a moment. Kara and Paulie are the lead figures here. They are leading the major alliance. They are making the decisions for the US team and for the UK team at times. They have Ninja, Ashley, Cam, Leroy, CT, Rogan, D, Joss, and Kaylee all in cahoots with them. And those are split amongst, the last 5 I just said were on the other team. They basically had 6 within US, 5 within UK, all doing things at their behest, what they wanted, what that group wanted at all times. And they were able to continue that because the Team USA was dominant. They won almost every single daily. There was a couple that they lost that they threw. There was some on the UK side being thrown as well. But even if everyone would have been playing honest, the US was winning almost all of these dailies. Their team was just amazing. But they threw in their own players because Cara and Paulie weren't working with their team. They were working with their alliance. And so, especially early on, Wes, Bananas, Laurel are 3 straight thrown in by their own to go in. And then, of course, Jordan and Tori are thrown in by their own later. Jordan is Tori loses or is the picked person from her team when they actually lose for once. So either way, Cara and Paulie have sent these 5 heavy hitters in at their behest, 3 of which the first 3 go home. Jordan and Tori, of course, do not. Joss in particular was the inside agent on Team UK. Others, like I said, were good with it, but he was really the one pushing and making the moves when Cara and Paulie asked, and was the one kind of put on the spot by his team the most. Others on this team, Georgia, Theo, Jenny, amongst all of them, everyone else is like, why can't we be Team UK? Why can't we? They don't turn coat over and over. The first half of the season, we have this moment of like, will you switch and join the other team? And it's like, no, I want UK to do better. But also, if I go over there, I'm still on the bottom because this isn't a team thing. This is an alliance thing. And it's just going beautifully for Cara and Paulie halfway or more through the season. And then Jordan and Tori mess it all up. They both win an elimination and they both turn. They get thrown in a second time and win again. And then when it comes to the last daily challenge of the season, CT finally begrudgingly gives in and says, you know what? My team's looking pretty stacked over here with who we got left. And I've been working with this alliance that's on the other team that's trying to take my money at the end. I'm going to be with them. We're going to, instead of throwing Tori in one more time, we're going to throw Nany in and get a US person out. And I'm keeping my 5-person team stacked heading into the final, which was Tori, Jordan, CT, D, and Rogan. A very, very good 5-person team versus slightly larger. I think they had 8 going into the final on the US side. Other memorable moments as we cycle back to the beginning and go somewhat in chronological order here, and then we'll get back to that final we just began discussing. Opening of the season, the US picks Turbo over CT. The first challenge, whichever team wins gets first pick in the little quick draft of CT, Turbo, D, and Ninja Natalie. And the US win, and they go Turbo over CT. Very upsetting for CT, which is part of why maybe by the end of the season he finally decides to fully flip to the other side, even though he'd been playing on that team the whole way through. Bear eliminating Wes in elimination was a big moment. Again, this is still pre everything outside of the game that would happen with Bear. He was the antagonist again here, but this time he wins one over on his self-proclaimed rival in Wes and knocks him out in a big-time elimination. Ninja beats Laurel. It is one of the most memorable moments of the season. The technicality, Laurel thinks she has won. They've blown the horn. She is telling everyone to suck it. She is, all excited, but one of her polls isn't necessarily in. It's just kind of stuck in versus actually in the spot it should go. Natalie climbs up, puts her last pieces in. They declare her the winner. It's a whole thing. It's an absolute mess. Who's to say what should have really went down here, but it didn't feel right either way that it would have gone. Paulie goes after Josh at one point. They get into it. Jordan gets into it as referenced with Turbo, picking the fight with Turbo multiple episodes in a row, culminating in the "you cannot copy my walk," an eventual shove and kind of neck grab, and Turbo getting DQ'd. This is the first spotting of Nany in her noodles. It's not the best moment Nany in noodles would ever have in challenge history. We got to wait another season or 2 for that. But Nany is spotted sporting the noodles here, and that's important for the future of the show. The incoming daily challenge, bringing back the classic mud wrestle musical chairs, was fantastic. It's one of my favorite dailies they do, and they brought it back with the daily on this season. And then we've got the run by Jordan and Tori. We already referenced it, but let's break it down a little further. Jordan beats Theo, who had already won 3 eliminations himself in very impressive fashion, was definitely the MVP of the UK through half of the season. But you get thrown in over and over and over, and eventually one of them's versus Jordan. You end up losing, even though he in his sophomore season did just as well as he had done with his second place on the first War of the Worlds. Jordan then turncoats, and then Jordan and Tori get engaged. He proposes right there down in the sand. It's a huge moment. Cara, of course, is not a fan. Even Paulie can't believe the saltiness coming from Cara, but it's a wonderful moment. It's amazing, and it sets up the rest of this season because these two have been on the outs from the US team. Now they've survived an elimination each at this point. he's turned. She would eventually turn. She beats Tori, or Tori, that is, beats Jenny in an epic hall brawl. Unbelievable hall brawl. Absolutely. They both rock each other's worlds. It's one of the best hall brawls we've ever seen, most evenly balanced ones we've ever seen. Tori comes out on top. She switches. They both go back in. I think Tori's beating Jenny was the second time she was in. And then Jordan, for the second time, has to go back in. He beats Josh in the end of the rope elimination. I think I'm getting, it's hard. They're all 4 in a row. I think that's when he proposes. I forget exactly what order it happens in, but there's a proposal and one of them after Jordan wins. There's 2 wins for both. The Jordan beating Josh in the end of the rope is one of the iconic ones where it's just like, we can all be honest about it. There's a disadvantage here for Jordan in a tug of the war balance game, and he figures out a way past it. He Jedi mind tricks Josh. He gets the win. It's unbelievable. The confessionals they mix in with it, it's well edited. It's just the best. It's unreal. And then we get to the final purge. There's a huge story of D can't swim. Who's going to be with D? They put Rogan with her, and then they survive. They do fine. And Joss and Kaylee, Joss again here for the 3rd season in a row, looking like one of the physical threats, looking like the one on the UK team that might be the best suited to help them in a final, gets knocked out in the purge with Kaylee. And then they go to that final with that tight 5 on the UK side versus the 8. And the US team implodes. They break their gurney, and then they try to block the US. So CT chews his way through them and breaks their gurney even further, which UK gets a penalty for, but it's a worthwhile moment. It's unbelievable. And Zach is yelling. Paulie's gassing out, falling over, passing out, and on and off. And it's just totally, they're in a panic. They're still keeping up for the most part. It's not like the UK team's running on all cylinders, doing perfect. It's still a match. It comes down to a final purge on the second day, which I will never get over. It's a pretty pointless, just let's get these teams down to 4 each, which I don't really see the point of. I know it would have been splitting a lot more money with 8 people on the US side if they would have come out on top, but let 8 people split the money. You used to do that way back in the day, and it's way more money this time. So that purge cost Tori a win. She is the last one at the puzzle. Jordan's sitting there waiting, but is like, if one of us is getting out of here, I'm done. I should go. At least one of us, we're about to get married now, is going to get this money, has to leave her there. So in my heart, I always think Tori's a winner this season too. She was the 5th one. I don't know why she couldn't have been there. Should have been there. And the UK team pulls out the win. CT's 3rd, all in Thailand, it should be pointed out, and Jordan's 3rd, and of course Rogan's 2nd, D's 2nd. Rogan, especially on his 2nd season, the first of which he didn't make it out of the opening Purge Daily Challenge. This time around goes all the way and gets the win. I love this season. The drama throughout is amazing. The politics are elite with the 2 alliances, or really the alliance and everyone else working against each other. And the story just plays out unbelievably well. This is a season that truly, it's rare that you get where the cast itself, you bring in thinking this could be a type of storyline. You put a format that allows for a certain storyline to potentially be there, to be open, and then it actually all works and gives you the amazing, unbelievable story that is opportunity, knocking with everything blending together. So that cast working the way they do, the format offers for someone to literally switch teams and go against and kind of fight their way back and build up a new alliance on the other side. That happens. All of it coalesces. All of it's amazing. And then this dominant duo of Cara and Paulie and everyone working with them fails right at the end in the upstart, not upstart because CT and Jordan are there, but Jordan and Tori leading the way with the turncoats, bringing the UK back from the dead and getting the win for the UK team, even though only one UK representative was left on that team at the end. It's just perfect. It rarely works out like that. It's so unbelievable. It's so wonderful. It's the best era 4 has to offer by a lot. I think I go all-time tier with this one. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on the upcoming Battle of the Eras season coverage. We'll be back tomorrow with Double Agents or Total Madness. Total Madness. I forgot which order they were. We'll be back with Total Madness, which is the next season.